see who can win the crown. All the marbles involved, football, baseball, or golf. Who's dominating the hoops? Who's talking false or the truth? Yeah, come and show me your war face. I show you my war face. No holds barred, so for your sake, you better show up in good shape. Valuable information is key to your domination. So focus on preparation, online is your reputation. Yeah, it's one-on-one, you and me, ain't no fear in me, you will see. When it comes to this, you be wearing the number 23. In debate, I hold my weight, cause these sports I'm attached to it. Your legacy, get ready, cause I'm gonna set a match to it. Hey, burn them, fire, 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 burn them. Fire, 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 burn them. Fire, 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 legacy on fire, 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 burn them. Fire, 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 legacy on fire, 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 burn. Fire, 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 legacy on fire.
This week's panel. Jay Quimby, co-host of the LegacyMaker Sports Podcast. Drew Willingham, founder of D Willie Media. And Russ Taliaferro, LegacyMaker Sports Network MMA guru. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is episode 6 of Legacy on Fire here on the LegacyMaker Sports Network. I'm your host, Darrell Owens, and you are back once again in the fire pit. That's right, the fire pit here. And we're so glad to have you all here with us today as we bring you another riveting round of Legacy on Fire. And of course, with me today, I have 3 of the top guys on the LegacyMaker Sports Network. First with me, he is the co-host of the LegacyMaker Sports Podcast and the co-founder of the LegacyMaker Sports Network, Mr. Jeremiah Quimby. What's up, sir?
We got snow. Hell yeah. And then it's gone.
And then it's gone. It did not take long.
I love snow, but it's funny because I talked to Dad. It's actually warmer in Michigan, and they had no snow. It rained.
Isn't that something special? Isn't that something special?
2020.
Right. And then next, of course, we have our man who does tons of video production here on the LegacyMaker Sports Network. He is the founder and owner of D Willie Media and the host of In or Out here on the LegacyMaker Sports Network, Mr. Drew Willingham. What's up, Hollywood Willingham?
What's up, fellas? I got 2 things that you forgot. 1, the best beard on the network. 2, the heavyweight champion here, ready to rock and roll and hand out some L's like my man Russ is about to say. But hey, I had to go first.
So my man definitely said he's got the best beard on the network. There's a couple of guys that will argue that, but it's pretty solid. I can't go wrong there. I'm not even in the competition. I'm just here to
I'll give it to him because I've only been growing mine for 3 weeks.
And next, of course, we've got the man who is our resident stat man. He is our MMA aficionado and guru, the stat man himself, Mr. Russ Taliaferro. Russ, what's up, brother? It's good to see you, man. You doing all right?
The Giants got a win this week that I did not expect them to. So yeah, I'm doing good.
There you go.
Pretty sure not even the Giants thought they were going to win that game.
Not against the Seahawks. Nope.
Nobody did.
Nobody did. But that defense has been quite phenomenal.
I'm saying top 10 defense, bottom 10 offense.
If they could just find a way to balance that bad boy out.
Give me top 15, top 20 offense. We're a playoff team.
Hey, I'll send you Tom Brady for Daniel Jones.
No.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
All right, everybody. So the way it works here on Legacy on Fire, of course, we were doing 3 rounds, but we've kind of stretched it out to 4 rounds here where each panelist will get 1 minute to break down their topic. We'll break down the topic and get a chance to give their opinion on that topic. And then after every person is gone, they will get 30 seconds to fire back, #rebuttal, their fellow panelists on here. And then, of course, we'll do the Put Out the Fire segment later on in the show. All right, fellas, it is time to get this thing started. I know y'all are ready. I'm excited. We got a great group of topics for today. We're going to start this first one off with the trade that we talked about a couple weeks ago. We didn't know it was going to happen, but it has happened. John Wall has been traded to the Houston Rockets for Russell Westbrook. This is a huge trade. Now, we heard a lot about it. We knew it could happen, but now it is officially happening. Russell Westbrook is in Washington, D.C., and John Wall rejoins his teammate DeMarcus Cousins in Houston along with James Harden. So, fellas, the question is this. Who won the trade? The Washington Wizards picking up Russell Westbrook or the Houston Rockets picking up John Wall? We're actually going to start this one with the stat man. Russ, who won this trade?
Washington. I don't think that's an argument there. Washington won this trade. Even with them giving up a protected lottery pick in 3 years, if I remember correctly, 2023. I think if I remember that basically just means that if they get the lottery pick, then Washington keeps it. If they don't, then Houston gets it. But even with, I want to say he's played like 40, 50 games the last 2 seasons or so with Westbrook. He's a walking triple-double. John Wall has not played 80 games in the last 3 seasons combined. He didn't play at all in this COVID-affected season. Played like 30, 40 games the last 2 seasons. If he can be healthy, he's good. Even his healthy, I don't think he's as potent as Russell Westbrook. There's not much you can do when a man can walk around and score 20 points, 10 assists, and either 10 rebounds or steals. Because Russell Westbrook could do either pretty much for his triple-double. But I don't, even with, DeMarcus Cousins signing, I don't think it helps him that much in Houston.
All right, Mr. Quimby, who won this trade?
Honestly, I think John Wall and Westbrook are the winners. They got what they wanted. They wanted out of their respective areas. Wall gets to play with Cousins. Westbrook gets, a decent team around him. But like Russ was talking about, these guys have not been healthy lately. Westbrook missed the last part with an ankle injury, and then his rehab for his Achilles. I mean, Achilles are big things. Ask Gordon Hayward. So, I think the players won this trade more than the teams. And Westbrook has not played in the East. He's always been in the West. I think he's going to get, his eyes opened a little bit about some of these big men that play out there.
All right, Drew, who won this trade?
I mean, I like Jay's take on both guys actually being the winners of this. But if I had to pick a team that won it, I would have to agree with Russ was saying that Washington won this one by getting Westbrook. I mean, Westbrook was averaging a triple-double for 3 straight seasons in his last 3 seasons with OKC. Last year, he didn't get it while he was with Houston, I think because a bit of the chemistry between him and Harden and the injury, like Jay had just said, that he sustained with his heel. But we also haven't seen John Wall since December 29th of 2018. So he's been out for quite a while. It's going to be a full 2 years by the time he comes back since we've seen him. So if they use him maybe like a Sean Livingston type of deal, like with the Warriors, then they might be able to get a good amount out of him. But as a full-time starter, I don't see that happening. They won with Westbrook in Washington.
All right, Russ, your chance to fire back.
I would say I wouldn't fire back. I like Jay's point of just the players winning them. I would tell you who's the actual loser in this, and kind of go against Jay a little bit. I would say the loser in this is probably Milwaukee and Miami. If this Westbrook trade works out and he's still the walking triple-double he is in the East, then those, sub-500 records in the top of the East, it's not going to be easier for them. It's going to get a lot harder with someone like Russell Westbrook. And if everyone else in Washington plays along with him, that's Miami's chance to get back is going to be a lot harder.
All right, Jay, your chance to fire back.
Yeah. I like Miami out because I think Miami still got another move they're going to pull off. And with them adding Precious, his defense is going to help. Westbrook is no doubt. If he can come back healthy, he is a scoring machine. But sometimes it's not always about putting up those numbers. So would a change of pace for Wall might be what he needs to just get the old John Wall back.
All right, not Russ, but Drew, your chance to fire back.
Don't buzzer me when I'm done.
It was on the time, man. It was on the time.
I think the biggest thing I would fire back on is maybe John Wall fits in a little bit better in Houston because of that bromance that he has with DeMarcus Cousins. It all depends on if James Harden sticks around and if he goes to Brooklyn or not. With Westbrook going to Washington, we all know he's a diva. He had his issues with Durant and OKC, which is why he got shipped out. They brought in what's his name? Paul George. He didn't work out there because of, Russ and his divaness. And he goes to Houston, didn't quite work out. So that's the only thing that I would look at with Washington.
All right.
I finished on time. Just like Quimby said.
I'm just saying, man. Look, look, I'm just saying. Look, I will say this, fellas. I from what I've seen from this trade, I was kind of skeptical about it because I felt if Washington was going to trade for Westbrook, how long would it be before they eventually trade Bill? Because I feel like how will Bill and Westbrook work together? Because I feel like that's what Westbrook just left, kind of, maybe with not the scoring dominance in Houston. With Harden, you give him those two dominant guards. I just don't know if Russell needs that other dominant guard beside him. So that for me, I'm a little bit iffy on that. But I do like this for Houston for these reasons. Kind of what Drew said. If you look, if you can somehow Houston get John Wall, a little bit of John Wall, a solid John Wall from a couple years ago, and a healthy DeMarcus Cousins, that spells a lot of dangerousness right there for that team. But like I said, it's all on a hope and a prayer. We really don't know how that's going to work out. All right, the next topic. Now we move to the NFC West. This is, in most people's eyes, well, in a lot of people's eyes, probably the best division in football. Each team in this division has had to lead at least some point in this season. The 49ers have been kind of in the mix, but the teams have battled back and forth. And currently at the time, we have the Los Angeles Rams atop of that division. So the question is this, fellas, who will win the NFC West? Mr. Jeremiah Quimby, we start off with you first.
Now, to be honest, this is still bipolar because even the 49ers right now, with the games that are left, can still make the playoffs. So every one of these teams can make it. But after what I saw, on Sunday from the Seahawks, I'm concerned. The defense didn't look good. And that line, I mean, you're going against Aaron Darrell? No, hell no. I mean, for me, I got to pick the Rams. It hurts a little bit because I don't like the Rams, but the Rams seem to be coming together at the right time, and I'm going to go Rams.
All right. I like that one. Drew, who wins the NFC West?
I'd have to agree with Jay on this and say the Rams based on what we saw this past Sunday with what happened with the Seahawks against the Giants. I mean, the Seahawks have scored the most amount of points with 353, but they've had 321 points scored against them so far, which is the most in the NFC West as far as giving up points. So they're barely winning these games by like an average of 5-6 points a game. Now with the Rams, they've got 301 points put up, which they've only had 243 scored against them. So they've got the least amount of points scored against them. So I've got to go with the Rams based on what Jay said. I think the Rams are going to take this in the last 4 weeks.
Russ, you seem to be very interested on this one. Russ, who wins the NFC West?
Is this fool busting out numbers in my presence right now?
Statman, you've been challenged, sir.
Statman, the numbers don't lie.
The numbers don't lie.
They don't. But I will until he retires and or he leaves the team. But I don't think he's going to leave. I think this division is Russell Wilson's to lose every year because the man is almost an MVP candidate every year. The last couple of weeks he's been playing himself out of it with the picks and everything. And they touched on a couple things on the broadcast yesterday where a lot of the pressure that he's under with his offensive line isn't always his line's fault. It's him holding the ball too long sometimes, which I do agree. But I still think he's the best quarterback in this division. And even with Garoppolo healthy, and Jared Goff, he's kind of up and down himself in his own mind. But I do think this year I'd go along with the rest of the guys and probably say the Rams are going to squeak it out, although I don't I don't want to say that the Seahawks are out. I think that it's going to be a close one. I don't think it's going to be, Seahawks lose out the rest of the year, but I do think the Rams are going to get this one close.
All right, Russ, you've had your turn. Jay, your chance to fire back.
I take advantage of my full minute. I'm like,
I see.
I partially agree with Russ, but Russell Wilson, does hold on to the ball too long because he's waiting for DK to get open. And everybody's figured if you double DK Metcalf, you basically have taken away the game plan. And then you look at the Cardinals, they were on fire. They've lost 3 in a row. They figured out what's going on there. And that defense is old, besides Isaiah Simmons. So, you prick.
I'm going to be nice this time. Drew, your chance to fire back.
I'd have to agree with what Russ said as far as this is Russell Wilson's division to lose. I mean, they've been on top of it, for several years now. What they don't have is they don't have the Legion of Doom anymore. So they don't have, or Legion of Boom. They don't have them anymore for their defense. So their defense is suspect. Their offense has still been pretty good with having Russell Wilson in there and DK Metcalf. But like we just said, the numbers don't lie. So I feel like the Rams are going to come out ahead in these last 4 weeks. We'll see.
Hey! Interesting fact on this. They traded for Jamal Adams, and now that JPP, the man that only has 3 fingers on one hand, has more interceptions in his career than Jamal Adams, who plays safety.
Oh, boy.
I think it's like 3.5 fingers, Jay. I think it's 3.5.
Russ, your chance to fire back. Russ.
Well, Jay and Drew, they both brought up some good points. I still, and maybe I'm probably a little bit crazy for saying this, but I think the Seahawks, Jamal Adams is the best safety they've had since Earl. I can't remember his last freaking name.
Earl Thomas.
There you go.
I think he's the best safety they've had since then, and I will never call a defense sus that has Bobby Wagner leading it 100%. I think he's been the best linebacker in the league for the last 5 or 6 years at least, if not longer reign than that. And I partially agree with Jay on the DK Metcalf part, but I do think they still have other weapons with Tyler Lockett and David Moore and Chris Parsons.
All right. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. So I like what everybody had to say here. I'm going to say this. As much as at the beginning of the season, I felt like this is Russell's division to lose. But what I've seen the last couple of weeks, McVay and the Rams have really started churning this thing up just a little bit. I like what I've seen. Even defensively, they've played better defense. They've still had some moments here and there. They impressed me a lot on Sunday in that game against the Cardinals. I was very impressed on what I saw in that contest, and I think that they can just build on from there. So we'll see how that goes out in the future. But as of right now, I'm going to have to go with the LA Rams as well. Next topic. Now, this coach that everybody's been kind of talking about the last few years, but a couple of coaching vacancies out in the horizon. You got the Lions looking for a coach. You got the Texans looking for a coach. The Jets may be looking for a coach. They did fire their defensive coordinator, Greg Williams, on Monday. So that's also something you start to look at and say, man, what is going on there? How's Adam Gase still having a job? But we'll talk about that on another day. But the question is this. There is an offensive coordinator down in Kansas City that everybody loves, and Eric Bieniemy. The question is this, fellas. Should Eric Bieniemy stay in Kansas City or should he go? We'll start this one off with Drew.
I think he should stay in Kansas City. And the reason why is Eric Bieniemy's been there since 2013. He was the running backs coach until 2 years ago. So this is his 3rd season as the offensive coordinator. 3 straight years, we've had Patrick Mahomes. So it's Mahomes, in my opinion, that's making the offense look good. And it's Andy Reid. It has a lot to do with them. Not taking so much away from Eric Bieniemy, but I think that had he not had Patrick Mahomes and had he not had Andy Reid as the head coach, I don't think he'd be succeeding as well as he is. It's not taking anything away from what he does, but I think he should stay there for another year or two, get a little bit more experience as an offensive coordinator, and then see. Because going to Detroit and then New York as those 2 big options, I wouldn't want to go there. So I would say stay in KC.
All right, Russ. Should Eric Bieniemy leave or should he stay?
If his choices are to go to New York or Detroit, especially how Detroit kind of screwed over Jim Caldwell, he should jump off a bridge. but like I think he should do kind of like what Texas did with Will Muschamp. Hopefully, it turns out better. But just you have Andy Reid, their head coach, the head of the table, no questions asked. But just he should be. I don't know how long Andy Reid is going to be there, but I think he should stay there, and that's the perfect partnership, especially with them primed to win another division championship, to still be a top Super Bowl favorite this year, and possibly win another Super Bowl. He should be the next coach in waiting, depending on how long Andy Reid's going to be there in Kansas City. But I don't see too many options that could come available that are worth more to try and build the new team with all the pieces that they probably would need on the team that he goes to, especially like New York or Detroit. Those are the two top teams that are probably going to have coaching vacancies. That's in Kansas City.
All right, Jay, should Bieniemy stay or should he go?
I absolutely agree with what they said. Be the coach in waiting. You have Patrick Mahomes, knock on wood, barring any injury or change, for 10 years. You've got him locked up. The man can make throws that you shouldn't throw or do the no-look pass, the left-hand throw, whatever. He can do it. Bieniemy is learning under one of, if not the greatest offensive coordinator that's ever existed. He needs to stay. I mean, yeah, Kansas City should recognize this and pay him, but he definitely needs to stay, because if you're going to any one of these bottom feeder teams, you're starting over with absolutely nothing. Because, I mean, Detroit, you got what? Stafford? Stafford's going to retire or be gone. And, well, I won't talk about New York.
All right. Drew, your chance to fire back.
If he does leave, the only actual NFL head coaching job that I would see, if it is available at the end of the season, would be the Eagles, because the Eagles still have a pretty good offense. They just have terrible direction right now. And especially with not knowing who your quarterback's going to be, if they're going to actually keep Hurts in after what we saw this past weekend. We'll see how that goes. But if he really wants to become a head coach, go to college first. Play around with college. There's going to be a bunch of vacancies open there. Go try out college for a little bit. You haven't even been a head coach in college yet. You was the associate head coach in Minnesota when Brett Favre was there, though. Give him that.
Okay. Russ, your chance to fire back.
No, I'm not even saying this as a Giants fan. I still wouldn't even go to Philadelphia. I'm not even going to lie. With the way that Carson Wentz is playing right now, I'm glad I have Daniel Jones as my quarterback. But just the coach, and Jay brought up a big part. You got to pay him. You have to pay him to keep him there. And it may cost, at this point, I'd pay him NFL head coach money to be offensive coordinator, because he's got Patrick Mahomes, the best QB in the league right now, locked up for another decade. But there's no other options that are better.
All
After
right,
paying
Jay,
half a bill to Mahomes, you want to pay him? That's a lot of money, man.
I think I have money
The
left.
plays that he makes, I pay that man a bill right now.
Jay, your chance to fire
Winning
back.
a Super Bowl continuously, you make money upon money upon money. Kansas City is doing it smart. They're doing what's got to be done. As far as the Eagles are you can ding that out. Carson Wentz has lost all confidence, and even if they cut him, they still have so much dead cap space, it's not even funny. So they got to figure something out.
Would you rather go to Philly rather than Detroit or New York, though?
No. I'd rather go to
Detroit. If those
Detroit.
were three choices, honest to God, I'd probably choose Detroit out of those three.
Yeah, I will say this. I mean, I look at this situation, and if I'm Bieniemy, if you can stay and you know that they're going to make you, it's almost like a Josh McDaniels situation in New England. In your heart, you kind of think like McDaniels has held back going to other teams because he knows he's the predecessor there in New England. At least that's my vibe. I mean, he had that coach job and then he bounced back. And so you saw that and you saw what he did. And he changed his mind. I think there was once or twice where he had the Browns job and he was like, he changed his mind on that. I just think that he didn't like the waters. He went back. If I'm Bieniemy, I stay in Kansas City, especially if I know I can have that job. All right, we head to our last topic. And this time we're going to talk a little Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball last season decided to experiment with something that, I mean, a lot of us probably wonder as kids growing up, would we ever see? And of course, they decided to have a DH on both leagues all last season. Of course, would have been a short season, but due to COVID. But there was some success there. Now, as of Monday, or as of right now, or at least as of Monday, they do not know if they will move on with that in 2021. So the question is this, and we're going to start with Russ. Should they get rid of the DH? I'm not get rid of the DH, but yeah, should they get rid of the DH or should they keep it? Which way should they go with that, Russ?
I think they should make it universal across both leagues. But I'd be okay if they don't. I'll be honest, because I grew up in the 90s watching baseball, so like a lot of my favorite players watching and were DHs. Bernie Williams transitioned to DH after his last couple years in center field. He's my favorite player of all time. Growing up in the 90s watching Edgar Martinez play DH was an absolute joy. And you probably forgot that he came in the league as a third baseman if you didn't know anything else. But I think for anything else, it's just actual, I think it just helps the pitchers stay healthy if you put a DH in the NL. It takes less chance for them to be on the field, gives them full time to, recover and try and get back on the mound for the next half of the inning because, then they don't have to worry about actually going up to hit the damn ball. Then they can worry about, getting their arm rested and who's coming up in the next half of the lineup. So I think they should keep it, not only that, but just extend it throughout the whole league. But I'd be okay if they don't. But they better keep it in the AL, that's for sure, because that's how the Yankees make most of their money.
All right, Jay, your chance here on this one. Should they get rid of the DH, or should they put it all together into one like we had this season?
I think they need to go universal with it all the way across both leagues. I agree with Russ about keeping it, if they're going to keep it in the AL, because always watching them play the, crossover games, it's always interesting to see. Yeah, Bartolo Colon was one of my favorite pitchers to watch bat, just because you never knew the man could swing bat. He was good, but I like seeing it. I like having that extra, that power hitter, that person that can't play a position. Or Cecil Fielder was one that I remember as a kid. Wasn't a great first baseman, but man, he could hit the hell out of the ball.
Definitely agree on that one. Drew.
Oh yeah, love Mo Vaughn too.
Don't you name tossing Mo Vaughn out there? Ooh. You can have me go watch a Mo Vaughn highlight video real quick. That's what I'm talking about. Drew, should they keep the DH or should they make it universal all the way around?
I think that they should get rid of it in the National League and go back to the way it was. I mean, not universal all the way around. I do have to disagree with the fellas on that, but I used to like it growing up in the 90s and having one league with the DH and the other one in the NL. You see the pitchers bat. Like he brought up some names. I'll bring up Kerry Wood, Kevin Millwood. I mean, these were guys, Rod Beck, even when he played in the NL, that's a really old name, but these guys that could actually slug the ball, swing that bat and slug the ball all over the field. It was really nice to see pitchers that could step up and do that. The one thing the DH does do is it keeps the league older. If we got rid of it in both leagues, we're going to see a lot of younger talent playing over the course of the career and maybe not guys 35 to 40. You get rid of the A-Rods that we had from back in the day, making a ton of money to just go up there and be a DH and hit home runs. So I want to get rid of it in the NL and keep it in the AL. And like what Jay said, have the crossover, when you have the crossover series. I like those. So let's go back to that.
All right. Now, Russ, your chance to fire back, sir.
I'm going to ignore this person who's at the bottom of my screen right now, even though it may be factually true. It is time. But I would propose to why not have the DH and NL. I would propose what could have helped. How could that have helped a guy like Tony Gwynn in his career if he didn't have to go out in the field and just worry about hitting? How much better could he have been? A guy like Pete Rose, even like that, even though he was a decent fielder. How much help it could have had them, longevity could have been, especially with Tony Gwynn towards the end of his career with the leg injuries that he had and everything. Like how much healthier could he have been if he didn't have to worry about going out the field and just hitting the ball?
All right, Jay, your chance to fire back.
I love I love the Tony Gwynn thing. Absolutely. One of my favorite baseball players of all time. But, I can see Drew's point because you can get some of the younger guys up to play because it's mainly for your older guys to, take the DH. But also those older guys, you want to keep them around to help lead and transition the younger guys into the game. So, you got to balance it.
All right. Drew, your chance to fire back.
All right, Russ, here we go. I like what Jay said because, you do need the older guys around, but that's why we have spring training instructors, special instructors to come in and teach these guys during spring training. But Russ, I'm going to tell you this about Tony Gwynn. If he really wanted to be a DH, he could have gone to New York, somebody else who was in the American League. Or the Anaheim Angels. He could have gone somewhere else, Boston, whoever. I don't care. Could have gone somewhere with a DH if he really wanted to extend. Look at Cal Ripken Jr. He played for his entire year in his career in the infield. He may have switched from shortstop to third base, but he still played in the infield the whole time. I'm going with stay the way it used to be.
Man, the moment you said Tony Gwynn in New York, you made my ears burn. How dare you, sir?
See, I absolutely disagree with you, Drew, because, the one thing I miss is loyalty. Nobody's got fucking loyalty at all.
Loyalty.
It's all about the money.
Not leaving San Diego
unless you're Mike Trout.
I'm just saying, if you're worried about somebody who's hobbling around, maybe he shouldn't have chewed dip and drank beer and ate all that food before the games. Look at Tony Gwynn. He blew up in the 90s, okay? If he really wanted to be a DH, then he would have watched his weight and he would have gone to another team.
I'm going to pretend really you didn't say that about somebody I respected, okay?
I'm out.
Hey, man.
They left. Russ left. He left. Russ, I'm out of here, Shawty. I'm out of here. Oh my God. Okay. All right. So that is it for our rounds here on Legacy on Fire.
Fire, 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 burn on. Fire, 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 burn on.
So now it is time, ladies and gentlemen, to put out the fire. And so we're going to start this one with Mr. Jeremiah Quimby. Jay, put out the fire.
Put out the fire. Okay. So I see that our, boxing buddy, Mr. Dick Face Paul, is going to fight, Floyd Mayweather? Is that who he's going to fight?
He's going to fight, yeah.
Yeah, he going to get fucked up. You are not a boxer, sir. You are a punk, and I really hope he knocks you back into fucking vagina.
Drew, your chance to fire back.
Looking back at this previous Monday night's NFL contest, well, it wasn't night, it was at 5:00. But you guys want to say all you want about the Steelers and then say all you want about the Washington, football team, okay? Regardless of who you pulled for and you saw the end of the game, you have to give it up to the football team for beating down the door the entire game and sticking close with an undefeated Steelers. So regardless of what you feel about the outcome, I'm giving it to the football team this week. I'm proud of you regardless of how it ended.
All right. Russ, your chance.
The same guy that was holding the WTF sticker up.
It's still my team. It's still my team, Quimby. It is still my team.
All right, Russ. Here's your chance, Russ, to put out the fire.
Jay?
No, sir. That fire is never going out. But it's time we stop talking about it. It was not a pass interference. Des Bryant was not impeded in any sort of way. The man did not get no pass interference. Leave it alone. Cowboys just suck. That's what I had to get off my chest. All right?
Wow.
There you go.
All right, everybody. We have
champ won that one.
So much joy.
We have officially put out the fire. But before we get off of here, was one other thing we wanted to talk about, and I guess we just kind of got to get off the chest. It was brought up to me that some people in this group feel like that there should be a reboot of Family Matters and that yours truly should play Carl Winslow. I'm going to let the man who said it say it first. Jay, should Darrell Owens be the guy that plays Carl Winslow in the reboot of Family Matters?
Yes, but you got to stop shaving it. And when it comes out, I mean, you look just like the esteemed gentleman that played Carl Winslow. I mean, he was one of my favorite actors. I loved him in Die Hard, even when he's cussing, screaming. So, yes. And, I mean, you got the daughters to play the parts. We just got to find Uncle. You know what I'm saying?
We'll figure that one out. Drew, do you think I should play Carl Winslow in the reboot of Family Matters?
You know what Jay said, I have to agree with that. But I would say before you would audition for that part, there would have to be a reboot of Die Hard first. And you would have to play Carl in there. Except for this time, you've got to be a rent-a-cop rolling around in a golf cart. And a badass rent-a-cop rolling it. Because he's retired now. He can't be a cop. So by this point, he's got to be retired. Put a little gray up in your beard. Grow the fade. You'll be all right. Do the Die Hard. If you need tips on growing a beard, come talk to me. I'll help you out.
I'll have to work on that.
Yeah, you say that he's been growing that beard for 20 years.
This has been a lot of hard work here, okay? A lot of hard work. Russ.
Except for you got to trim it to the mustache. Carl had the mustache. You got to get rid of the beard. You got to have the mustache for Carl.
Oh, I don't know about that.
You got to do that for the part, man. For the 8 weeks shoot,
I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see. Russ, should I play Carl Winslow in the reboot of Family Matters?
If you do, can I borrow 350?
I think I can let you borrow 350. I think I'm pretty solid with that.
That's a 300.
350.
350. And then the period.
I got you.
Not no 350. No $3. We talking about 350.
All right, large. He's talking about a little over $250,000.
Can you put a little something on my car loan? Can you put
that's hilarious. Look, even though it would be an honor to play Carl Winslow, I don't know if I, will have enough anger in me to yell at Steve. But I do appreciate you guys thinking of me when it comes to being Carl Winslow.
Just wait until the first time your daughter brings home a boy. You'll find that anger.
Or just pretend DJ's calling 911 on your phone. That's all you do.
Actually, no, that's wrong. You can't use that, Russ. Not 911. He snuck and he ate your Bluebell and hid it in his closet.
Oh, see, that's
no. See, no, he didn't eat the Bluebell. He just opened it and turned it upside down and let it sit on the floor.
You know what? I'm done with you guys.
You don't do that to a man's Bluebell.
That's it. Before we get off of this thing today, this has been episode 6 of Legacy on Fire. Mr. J. Quimby, anything you got to say before we get out of here?
Everybody be safe. God bless. This COVID crap's getting worse. So get your TP while you can find it.
Drew Willingham, anything you got to say before we go?
First of all, I gotta say it was good defending my belt here and winning again. It was good. But second of all, just like what Jay said, hopefully everybody out there is being safe. A quick shout out to my guys at work, my guy Chip, my guy Saker for doing a good job so that way my body doesn't feel like I'm dying half the time so I can be on here and do these shows for you guys. Shout out to them, my family, everybody else. Thank you very much for having me on.
Russ, anything, Statman, you got to say before we get off of here?
Merry Christmas, Vote Rock 2024.
If you smell
what the Rock is cooking. And all I got to say,
what the Rock is cooking in the house of the motherfucking representatives.
Who that got bleed?
There is no longer any undefeated teams in that.
All right, everybody. I'm Darrell Owens, LegacyMaker Sports Network. This has been Legacy on Fire, episode 6. We will see y'all next week for Ladies Night. I'm Darrell Owens. Peace.
'Cause it's Ladies Night.
And the feeling is right.
Oh, yeah.